Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Sustainable Scoop. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I feel like my faith and the environment are at odds, and there's no way to find a good balance. But joining me today is Jodi Rose. She is the Executive Director of Interfaith Partnerships of the Chesapeake. And you found a balance.
Well, yes, we're working on that.
Tell us a little bit about Interfaith Partnerships of the Chesapeake.
So we're a 501c3 organization that works to help faith congregations of all faiths answer their call to stewardship. So we try to develop tools and resources, provide them access to grants that maybe they didn't know about, prepare sermon tips, or categorize like scripts, sacred texts of all the various things relating to trees and water, anything that makes it easier for congregations to really live into that call to stewardship.
And the planet was created by a powerful force, and stewardship means that we are responsible to take care of it. And that's pretty relevant to the young people of today. So do you think that that might bring them back to church or to their faith?
Well, you're right. I mean, the churches are seeing a graying of all of their members. You look around the pews and the young families aren't always there. We did talk to one church that I think they were on the Eastern Shore that installed some solar panels on their property, and they know for sure that they acquired some new younger families as a result of that. So the young adults today and the 30-somethings, they get it. They know that if we're not talking about the environment as it relates to our call to care for one another, because we're all in this house together sharing it, then our messages at the church are irrelevant, and they get it, and they're going to find a community and an institution that seems relevant to them. And until our churches can really tie that message in, it's going to be hard to attract the young people.
So they're very institutionalized, and they're everything's about the scripture. And you mentioned that some of the holy texts talk about stewardship, but how do you make it real in a day-to-day life and provide a congregation that might even be a faith that's different from your own to take certain steps?
Well, we have a lot of programs that we offer that really translate this call to stewardship into action, into something tangible. One of our programs is called Trees for Sacred Places, and we go around and we get grant funding or donations from people to build up the funding for this program to make it free for congregations to plant trees on their property. And we're not talking about planting a couple trees here and there. We're talking about converting some of the grass back over to forest, really making a commitment to let go of the turf lawn that needs mowing and pesticides and herbicides, and put it back into forest canopy. Because trees are really creation's cure-all. They hold rainwater and divert it away from our storm drains. They provide habitat. I mean, it's like everything that we could imagine for healing the earth is tied up in trees. So that's an example of a program that really then helps a congregation translate what's in their mind and their heart into action.
And you're also building communities at the same time, because a lot of times the communities that suffer most from degradation or they have issues with stormwater management are communities that are also suffering from social justice issues.
Right. Our most urban areas are suffering the most from stormwater pollution. Stormwater pollution is when rain falls on hard surfaces, like in a very developed city, and our engineers have done a good job of getting that water out of our way very quickly, but it goes into drains and it empties into our creeks and our rivers untreated. People don't know that the street drain that you see all the flood water going into or the storm water going into, no matter if it picked up all the cigarette butts or the oil and antifreeze off the floor, or off the driveways and the roads, it all goes into those drains, it empties into creeks untreated. And those then are impacting our most urban areas the most. So, for example, the Anacostia region, that Anacostia River is really suffering from a lot of different toxicities and stormwater pollution, but yet 17,000 people consume fish from that river every year to supplement their diet. So what we do on our properties is impacting those downstream of us. In fact, there's a great quote from Wendell Berry. He's a wonderful poet and farmer and author. And he says, do unto those downstream as you'd have those upstream do unto you.
There you go. There you go. And speaking of the top of the stream, you know, I was thinking about Pope Francis and some of the words that he shared recently with the world. How has that impacted your movement? And even though he represents the Catholic Church, he really spoke to all faith communities.
Yeah, he really put the rubber stamp on this is the new norm. We need to really be taking responsibility for the earth, not only because of nature and species and wildlife, but because we are passing something on to future generations, and it's impacting the poor, the first and foremost, particularly when you step back and put yourself in a global perspective. You know, all the refugees around the world, you know, that's not all just from wars, it's from climate change and global warming and impacting
agriculture, water,
famine. I mean, this is impacting humans. And if we're really going to take seriously our call to love one another and do unto others, you know, the way we'd want to be treated, we need to look at how we're treating the earth too.
Well, I think it's fantastic that you've put together this structure that people can duplicate, and you can share it with them online, or you can go to see them. How do people find out more about your organization?
Well, we're on the website. Our website is www.interfaithchesapeake.org, or they can email me at Jodi, Jodi, at interfaithchesapeake.org.
Thanks so much, Jodi Rose, Executive Director of Interfaith Partnership of the Chesapeake. I'm Miriam Gennari. That's The Sustainable Scoop. Thanks for listening and watching. Back to the news desk.